In the heart of Benin City, one man's name echoed loudly within the underground world of street brotherhoods, Aganti. He was not just another member of the Black Axe group, he was a legendary figure, deeply rooted in its structure and feared for his authority. Among the ranks, Aganti held the powerful title of State Butcher I, a highly sensitive and commanding role. With that title came a weighty responsibility. He was in charge of enforcing the group's internal codes and leading strategic operations across the city whenever conflicts arose with rival groups. Aganti's rise within the Black Axe confraternity wasn't overnight. He earned his place through years of unwavering loyalty and bold actions. It was said that during tense face-offs with rival brotherhoods, such as the Airlords and the dreaded Maphites, Aganti never stepped back. He was known to stand firm, leading confrontations with calculated bravery. Many whispered that he had played major roles in operations that weakened rival groups in Benin City and beyond. These operations were not just about rivalry, they were about sending messages, maintaining dominance, and defending the legacy of his own group. But Aganti wasn't just influential in the underworld, his name carried weight in the political scene of Edo State too. Though never holding any official political title, Aganti allegedly worked behind the scenes with certain powerful politicians. During elections, stories floated around that he and his loyal followers were used as muscle to intimidate opponents, enforce territorial control, and influence voting outcomes in favor of preferred candidates. Some believed he operated like a silent arm of a political force, making sure no one dared to challenge the interest of his allies. Locals often spoke of his dual life: by day, a respected community man who moved like a king across the city; by night, a figure of authority within circles where fear and respect walked hand in hand. His reputation stretched far beyond the borders of Benin City. From Ekpoma to Ochi, from Uromi to the riverine areas of Edo South, people knew his name. He had built a network so solid that even those who had never met him knew better than to cross paths with his interest. Even among his peers, Aganti was seen as one of the old guards, men who were not only loyal but deeply involved in shaping the operations of their organization. Some described him as disciplined, deeply strategic, and unwavering in loyalty. Others viewed him as ruthless in maintaining control and unafraid to do what needed to be done to protect the codes he had pledged to uphold. Despite all the rumors and allegations surrounding him, one thing was clear: Aganti had become a central figure in both the world of confraternities and Edo State's political landscape. Whether admired or feared, respected or condemned, his influence could not be denied. His story wasn't just that of a man, it was a story of how power, loyalty, and ambition could make one person a force too big to ignore in a city where silence and strength often spoke louder than words. By the year 2024, the atmosphere in Benin City, the capital of Edo State, had grown increasingly tense. Beneath the regular hustle and bustle of the city, a deep-rooted crisis was boiling, one that had drawn the attention of residents, security forces, and observers from across the state. A silent but deadly conflict had begun to take hold once again between two long-standing rival groups, the Black Axe and the Maphites. Though confrontations between these two groups had occurred in the past, what made the 2024 conflict different was the intensity and calculated nature of the operations being carried out. The exact reason why this particular clash erupted again was difficult to trace with full certainty. Like many street-level crises, there were different stories from different corners. But one name kept popping up in the early reports: Osas Technical. Osas Technical was not just another member of the Black Axe movement, he was well-known, well-respected, and heavily connected. When news broke that he had been taken out in a sudden and shocking hit, fingers began pointing towards the Maphites. Though no one openly took responsibility, many believed the Maphites had reignited the conflict by targeting such a high-profile figure. In response, the Black Axe reportedly carried out a bold retaliation, targeting two of the Maphites' most recognized members, Schoolboy and MSXy. Their removal from the scene sent shockwaves across the city. Both men were regarded as top players within their group, known not just for their influence, but also for their charisma and connection to the street. What happened to them wasn't just seen as a loss, it was a serious blow to the morale and structure of the Maphites in Edo State. However, the details surrounding their demise remained cloudy. While many sources strongly believed it was an organized retaliation by the Black Axe, others argued that the operation had deeper political undertones. Some suspected it wasn't just about group rivalry, it may have been a politically motivated action carried out by professional hands who had ties to the Black Axe. In a state where politics and street influence often dance closely, it was hard to draw a clear line between what was political and what was street-driven. Regardless of the true motive, one thing was clear: the elimination of Schoolboy and Emma Sexy created a major scar within the Mapite structure. It wasn't the kind of incident that would be forgotten easily or forgiven without response. Yet, what followed was unexpected. Rather than immediate retaliation, the city fell into an unusual quiet. The streets that had once echoed with rumors of who would strike next became silent. Many thought the Maphites were done. But those who understood the workings of the street knew better: silence doesn't always mean surrender. Behind the scenes, insiders hinted that the Maphites were not retreating, but rather recalculating. They were said to be carefully mapping out their response, not rushing into the streets, but instead planning something that would shake their rivals deeply. For them, it wasn't just about revenge, it was about strategy, about choosing a target that would deliver the same level of shock and loss as the hit on their own members. People across Benin began moving cautiously. Rumors spread fast, and the slightest gathering of young men at street corners was viewed with suspicion. Parents warned their children to avoid night outings. Security checkpoints increased across the city, and tension grew with each passing week. In the shadows, the next chapter of the clash was already in motion. No one knew exactly when it would strike or who the next target would be, but everyone knew that the calmness was only temporary. The air in Benin City grew tense in the weeks that followed the shocking elimination of Schoolboy and Emma Sexy, two high-ranking figures within the Mapite group. Though the city appeared calm on the surface, underneath it all, something serious was brewing. Those familiar with the unspoken rules of the street knew that the silence from the Maphites was not a sign of defeat, it was a warning. A sign that something bigger was coming. And indeed, something was. Behind closed doors, key figures within the Mapite circle were already holding secret meetings. Discussions were heated. The group had suffered a painful loss, and it was clear that if they didn't respond in kind, their influence and street image would suffer. After days of deliberation and information gathering, they finally reached a decision. They had identified a target they believed would match the scale and emotional impact of their own loss. That target was none other than Aganti. To the Maphites, bringing down Aganti would serve as a clear and calculated message, a statement of equal weight. Aganti wasn't just any member of the Black Axe, he was a symbol of strength, loyalty, and long-standing influence. Eliminating him would not only balance the score but shake the entire structure of their rivals to its core. With that in mind, plans were quietly set into motion. The operation was not rushed. It was carefully planned with precision. The Maphites were determined to get it right, because they knew this wasn't just about one man, it was about pride, power, and sending a strong reply to a deep wound. Eventually, their patience paid off. According to multiple street sources, Aganti was eventually located by the group tasked with carrying out the operation. When they finally struck, it was swift, calculated, and final. The moment the news of Aganti's death hit the streets, it sent shockwaves through every part of Edo State. Benin City changed overnight. For the Black Axe, the loss of Aganti was more than painful, it was devastating. It felt like a pillar had fallen. The man who once commanded operations, defended the group's legacy, and walked boldly in the face of rivals was no more. Even those outside the confraternity world recognized the weight of his absence. Aganti had become a name that represented control and order within the Black Axe structure. Without him, there was a dangerous vacuum. Almost immediately, chaos returned to the city. Tensions exploded. Violent encounters broke out across several areas as both groups clashed again. Neighborhoods that were once quiet became hotspots. Individuals associated with both sides were caught in the middle of the new wave of violence, and tragically, even innocent bystanders who had nothing to do with the conflict were affected. The streets of Benin were once again gripped by fear. Checkpoints reappeared across town. Families urged their loved ones to remain indoors after dark. Security forces tried to restore calm, but many knew that the real fire was not on the surface, it was within the hearts of those still holding on to revenge, anger, and memories of fallen comrades. To this day, the impact of Aganti's loss is still felt deeply within the Black Axe circle. Many believe that the group has never fully recovered from losing such a key figure. His leadership, his authority, and the respect he commanded, those things are hard to replace. And even years later, his name is still mentioned in conversations among those who remember the era when he walked the streets with confidence and control. In Benin City, it has almost become a tragic cycle. Every few months, the bitter rivalry between the Black Axe and the Maphites reignites. It has become a pattern, one that many residents have sadly come to expect. These confrontations bring nothing but pain, fear, and loss to the community. This is why it's important to say, loudly and clearly, say no to cultism. These groups may offer promises of brotherhood and power, but in the end, they often bring destruction, not just to their members, but to entire communities. Young people must understand that there are better paths to follow, ones that lead to peace, progress, and a future full of promise rather than fear. Let Aganti's story, and the stories of so many others lost to this crisis, serve as a warning. Let the city of Benin one day be known not for conflict, but for unity, growth, and peace.